Kingdom has an insane artistic evolution. It went from this inconsistent, awkward looking art to this absolute greatness. One thing to note is that Kingdom is Hara's first serialized work. Before he started serializing Kingdom, he drew 4 one-shots which were all related to Kingdom, and those were his first ever published works. To elaborate more on what I meant by inconsistent and awkward art, sometimes you would have this amazing detailed panel, and then on the same page you would have an awkward, uneven looking panel. Like, I can tell he's someone that understands art and knows how to draw, but it feels like he wasn't very in touch with it. Sometimes it looks like the characters are drawn fully realistic, and then a couple pages later it would look like the characters are drawn just in the classic anime kawaii style. All this led to these one-shots feeling wonky and awkward, but something to note, the man kept improving at really high rates with each one-shot. By the end of all 4, you can tell that he was able to combine all these awkward things, and because of them he was able to create his own amazing art style. Like, you can show his art to anyone who knows of Kingdom, even if it's just a little bit, and they would instantly recognize where it's from. Even though I was kinda harsh on the art for these one-shots, but the stories were still really good. You can tell that Hara was passionate about his work. If you're interested in them, only 2 were translated to English. One of them is about Riboku and the other is about Mobu and Shohei-kun. But if you decide to read them, watch out because the Mobu one has history spoilers. While he was working on some of these one-shots, he was also working for Takehiko Inoue as an assistant on his manga reel. In an interview, Hara said that he learned so much while working for Inoue, and he views Inoue as his mentor. He also highlighted that Inoue advised him to make Shin's eyes bigger because the face has a lot to do with the content of the character, or what kind of person they are, whether they're a good person or not, and whether the readers will like them or not. Hara also said that thanks to a lot of Inoue's advice, his level of art increased considerably. Moving on, since Kingdom is a pretty long manga, it has gone through multiple changes, and that mainly happens between time skips. Unlike many other manga where the whole story takes place in only a single time period, or they only have a few time skips, Kingdom on the other hand spans over many years. Like, it has been 12 years in story time. So with that, the way characters look changed a ton, which makes it difficult to know if the art style changed or did the characters just grow up. But you can definitely tell that the art evolved so much with time. That goes for all aspects of the art, from the way large-scale battles are drawn and even the way characters display emotions. The art is genuinely brilliant, but I have one massive problem with it that I'll mention at the final segment of this video. When discussing the art of the first part in Kingdom, Hara didn't use screen tones much for the shading. He mainly relied on hatching and cross-hatching, compared to later where he uses both at the same time in a masterful way. As the story progressed, the art would also become more mature with it too, displaying a better understanding of human anatomy, even though Hara loves to exaggerate some body features to add to the epicness and the hype of the ongoing battle. The art drastically changed over time. It mainly happened after the first part, which was from volumes 1 to 7. The art in those volumes felt a bit goofy and cartoonish by design, but from then on the art just became a lot better in my opinion. Like, it feels Hara found the style that he wants to tell his story with, and then he just kept refining that and improving on it. It was drawn with thicker lines and the facial features were more prominent, and it was done by sharp line art. With time he refined it more where it wasn't as thick, which was around the Coalition arc or even a little bit before that. But something that didn't change from different art styles is that Hara always liked to draw backgrounds for panels, and a lot of the time he has a ton of details thrown into them. It's not only backgrounds, a lot of the time Hara adds environmental panels to show where the current location is. Having those detailed backgrounds and environmental panels adds so much to the feel of the world, and it builds up an atmosphere which helps so much with making readers feel immersed in the world of Kingdom. Since Kingdom is a war manga, the art needs to convey large-scale battles and duels. Hara over the years has been able to master those. At the very beginning, I think Hara didn't have a feel for those large-scale battles. They felt kind of plain and empty, but quickly Hara was able to make them feel like you took a drone and filmed a massive battle from a bird's eye view. In duels, that's when the art is the least realistic in my opinion, but that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, I actually really like that. When I say unrealistic, I mean that everything is just exaggerated by like 100 times. The strikes are drawn like they're cannon shot, and the muscles are always exaggerated so much. But that is, like I said, a positive thing, because these exaggerations build up so much hype, and it gives us readers so much adrenaline, and that's a big reason to why many people read Kingdom in the first place. Something else noteworthy about Kingdom is the character designs. We have so many great looking characters, and the way they look can tell a story on its own. For example, we have the King Issei. His design was used before for Hyo, but it's insane how even then you can tell them apart just because of how Sei looks. He's always drawn with a stern look on his face, and I don't know how, but the way Hara draws him, you can see the responsibility on his shoulders that he is always carrying and he's having to worry about. Another example is the man, the myth, the legend, Kanki. From his introduction, you can tell that he's different from all other generals. The way he carries himself, the way he's dressed, the black around his eyes, and the fact that there is little to no light in his eyes. These elements in the design helps us understand more about his personality. It shows readers that this man is cruel. It also makes us see that there's probably really messed up stuff that he had to go through to be this way. His design also shows us his rough and careless attitude. But oh boy, pure drip if you ask me. All this you can just see from his character design. Also, all the people in the Kanki army, just from their design, you can tell these are not true soldiers. You can see that from the way they dress and their general overall look and attitude. Compare that with the soldiers from Osun's army. They're well dressed, formal, and refined. There are so many great character designs in Kingdom, and they all tell a story of their own just with the design itself. Now for the thing I mentioned earlier that I really dislike. It's also character designs, but it's for soldiers and generals that don't have that much screen time. They can be either Qin soldiers or other states. Basically, Hara just has two main character designs that he switches between and then changes or adds a couple of small things, then he just calls it a day. Like, I get that there are so many to come up with a different design for each, but it just gets kinda confusing with so many different ones. Even then, that's like the biggest complaint that I have for the Art of Kingdom. But that doesn't change the fact that it's really impressive that Hara has been able to throw in this much passion, detail, and pure artistic skill, even though the series is a weekly publication. It has art that rivals top greats that put out chapters monthly, or it takes them even longer. I just love Kingdom's art and I respect Hara as an artist. Anyway, if you like manga and Kingdom, I suggest you subscribe for more manga and Kingdom content. Alright, later.